welcome to Life with the Alterverse. Episode number
5.
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
I am the geezer.
And I am the jizzer.
Right. What's been happening? In the world of MMA, Ronda Rousey came out after her devastating loss. She disappeared and she didn't really come out in public too much, kind of kept herself to herself, and then just slowly she did SNL, Saturday Night Live. It's like a comedy show over in America, quite a big show, and then she did some TV interview or something, and this is a big news story because she asked her, the female host of the show asked her, what did you feel like when you lost, or something like that, and then she said, I remember lying in the hospital bed after the fight, after the knockout, contemplating suicide for a second, but then she said that she looked up at her boyfriend and thought, I need to have his babies, so I better not kill myself, or something like that. And
So this has been taken by media and
yeah, so they're looking at two angles. One is the whole suicide thing. Obviously, it's not a small statement, and the other is the feminists are looking at it from another perspective. So we're going to the suicide thing later, but the feminists, what they're saying is, oh, so your only purpose to live is because of your boyfriend. Do you not have any purpose to live for yourself? And it's like, what the hell? These are just trying to, make some silly argument all the time, and I don't understand this whole, the feminist movement. I get it. I understand why, because in the West they were not given their rights, and just to get the right to vote, they had to have a whole suffragette movement, and the females have unfortunately not been treated in the best manner. And in today's day and age in the West, I would argue that they're like this. It's a piece of meat. It's a piece of flesh. Every time a marketer needs to market a product, they just get a female, put her in a bikini, we'll airbrush some parts of her we don't like, and just throw her out there, and she's a commodity to her. She's a piece of flesh. And
you see that with a lot of YouTube channels.
Right. Okay.
When they want a lot of hits and a lot of clicks, they'll get they get a babe on there and
right.
Ba-ding! It'll take off.
So yeah, females, even in today's day and age, which feminists actually are not picking up on, and I've hardly seen anyone actually talk about this, that they are not, that females are so body conscious, but they're not tackling the body consciousness of females. Like, there's a certain figure, you can't have too much flesh on certain parts of your body, but it's good to have flesh on other parts of your body. So that whole type of thing, and you have to fit into a certain figure. If you do not, then you are not pretty, or you have to have a certain type of facial structure. Or the worst one is a certain color of skin, which is like the worst one. That if you are not a certain skin color, then it's not good, and you're not good looking, and blah blah blah. And even with African American or Afro Caribbean females, there's this whole perception of, if they are lighter skinned African, or Afro Caribbean, African American, etc., then they are better looking, whereas if they are darker skinned, then they are not as good looking, etc. So there's massive issues in the West in terms of how females are perceived, but there is the feminist movement actually doesn't mention that. And the reason I mentioned this is just the other day, Ronda Rousey on her Instagram, there was a picture she was given, and she uploaded it, and it was advertising an interview she did, and she probably didn't pick it up straight away. And she looked at it later and realised that, wait, they've actually photoshopped her arm. Because her arms are quite muscular. She's a fighter, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So her arms are quite muscular. And they photoshopped them to look a bit skinnier. So what she did, she went on Instagram a little bit later, and she put up two pictures side by side. One of that exact same angle without the photoshopped image, and the other one was photoshopped. And she apologised to her fans and said, look, I hate this whole body image thing, and I'm proud of my muscles, and proud of the way I look, etc. I don't buy into this whole rubbish. So that's actually a bigger role model for feminism than these kind of false type of feminists out there who don't bring up this type of issue, and they just go down the whole route of, oh, did you just are you trying to your purpose in life is your relationship, whereas it's not for yourself somehow.
But they do bring it up.
The feminists, no?
Feminists they do bring up the body types. There's been all those campaigns where there's been adverts where they've shown people of different sizes, and there's a whole whole thing that went on around plus size models.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. I know.
There's been plenty of stuff that's happened in that space.
There was something recent on I can't remember the name of the magazine, some sports magazine, that Ronda Rousey was on the cover, and they did like a plus size thing as well.
Yeah.
But the emphasis. What I'm saying is the emphasis. The emphasis is on when she spoke about suicide, and then she said she looked at her boyfriend or the person she's in a relationship with, and she said that she's living for him somehow. That then the emphasis is on, well, why are you not living for yourself, or why do you not have your own kind of confidence not to live for a partner or something like that? So they're trying to tackle
what's wrong with that
traditional roles. What was traditional roles in females was that they are protected by males, and the traditional role of a male was, and probably still is, that he's the patriarch, the leader.
Mm-hmm.
He's the shepherd, and everybody else falls behind him and are the sheep. His children, his wife and children are the sheep. So because they're trying to they want everything equal, so they want male and female to be equal. So that's why they attacked Ronda Rousey when she said
that doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
That whole thing that you just said doesn't make any sense.
It does. Anyway,
no, it doesn't.
Keep listening. So what she said right. So let me put it into context now. When she said that she looked up at her boyfriend, she contemplated suicide. She thought, I've just been knocked out. I just want to die. I want to kill myself. And then she looked up at her boyfriend and she thought, no, actually, I want to live because I want to have his babies. So I want to become a mother.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that she loves and all the rest of it. And then feminists attacked her for that, saying, why is it that the only thing keeping you alive is the matriarch? The patriarch.
So they're the ones that switched it to that view. When for herself, it was the love of her husband or boyfriend, whatever it is, right? So it was something other than herself that was keeping her going.
Yeah. But what they're saying is it shouldn't be something other than yourself. It should be yourself, if that makes sense. It should be you yourself, which are the reason for your existence and the motivation for your existence. Rather than fitting into a family, a traditional family. So, I mean, we have this movement away from traditional family values.
Yeah.
Into, I don't think it's defined itself yet, because there's many contradictions. It's not quite defined itself yet. Like, what is it? Is it live for yourself in terms of selfishness? But then they have like a stoicism movement where don't be selfish.
Yeah.
So, there's too many contradictions.
Now, what you do is, you live for yourself.
Yeah.
And then you make yourself feel good by giving to charity and doing some stuff for comic relief here and there.
Yeah, so
that's what you do.
Right, fair enough. So, but it still, it still needs to define itself properly. This new kind of, I don't even know what.
Anyway, leave that stuff. Yeah. But back to Ronda.
Yes.
So there's another thing as well, right? In that there's a perception that fighters, particularly fighters, right, and famous people in general, people who are looked up to, shouldn't be showing signs of weakness.
Well, yeah, the thing on that, actually, before we go into anything else, what I didn't see the media pick up on, and obviously I've been a fan of mixed martial arts for a long time, so all of these fighters I'm aware of backstories. I'm a bit of a geek. And with Ronda Rousey, her father actually committed suicide when she was really young.
Yeah.
So when I heard her say the suicide thing, I was like, oh damn, because obviously like it runs in the family type thing, if you will, and but it was something that a lot of the other media outlets have not yet picked up on, which means that she spoke about this earlier in her career, and she's probably written about it in a book. I've not read her book, but I'm assuming that the media outlets and whatever they haven't gone into the backstory too much. But in terms of fighters showing signs of weakness, etc., it kind of is and isn't. Like, you see some, the last fighters, like, do you get nervous before a fight? And they'll say, yeah, I do. I get nervous before a fight.
The humans, right? That's what people tend to forget.
It's the perception people have of fighters, but it's not the perception fighters have of themselves.
Yeah,
Fighters have the self-confidence to admit their own weaknesses because, they like, I might be a bit mentally weak, but I'll still beat the crap out of everybody else out there for the most part. So, they have their own self-confidence, but it's people see like, oh, you're supposed to be a warrior, you're not supposed to have a weakness or whatever. But you have to remember that they're human beings at the end of the day.
Exactly. I mean, you only need to look at people like Fran Bruno. Who had a complete mental breakdown.
Well, yeah. What was that other guy called? Oliver McCall.
Oliver McCall, yeah.
Against
Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, the second fight. Yeah. The first fight, he knocked him out with that beautiful straight right.
Yeah.
Boom! Right through. Just Lennox. First round, wasn't it?
Lennox didn't even see that coming. He's like, where did that come from?
And the second round, he was just the whole fight was having a breakdown, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oliver McCall. And
he was going around in circles and he didn't answer to his corner.
Yeah, he wasn't defending himself either.
Yeah, no.
He wasn't even trying to get out the way of punches. It was as if he was trying to headbutt his hand as his hand is coming in. He's trying to lean into the punch. But he actually he was on drugs.
Not surprised.
He was on drugs, and I think they pulled him out of rehab for the fight or something along those lines. He started crying actually. If you see the video, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis versus Oliver McCall Part 2. And you could tell there's something not quite right there. What else has been going on? Beyonce Super Bowl halftime show, big controversy. Super Bowl. I don't even know who was playing or whatever, and I never know. There's always something there. I remember a few years ago there was something on a Super Bowl halftime show. I can't remember what it was, but it kind of spilled over into popular culture and it was all over the place. But this is another one. She had a new song called Formation, and she released it the day before, and she released a video. And on the day of the Super Bowl, she's doing her like halftime show, and she comes out in a kind of Michael Jackson type outfit, and
is that how Michael Jackson dressed?
Not exactly like her, no, but like a kind of Michael Jackson type outfit. But then her backup dancers are all dressed like Black Panthers.
Yeah,
and the song is about she mentions the Panthers and Malcolm X in the song, and the song is about kind of Black pride and about how they are being abused, etc. And the video for her song, which came out the day before, there's some visuals where there's a kid dancing in front of a line of police. There's a police car sinking into water, which was where were them floods? What area was it? Remember the years ago there was some floods in the time of George W. Bush.
From
New Orleans.
Yeah, that was a hurricane, wasn't it?
Hurricane Katrina. Yeah. The Hurricane Katrina. So it kind of symbolizes Hurricane Katrina, which, mind you, up to this day, apparently, from what I've heard, Hurricane Katrina, the government still does not know how many people were killed because they're not bothered.
Yeah.
They don't care how many, because it's black people. Why should they care?
Exactly.
So
there's an interesting point on that. So there's the what's her name again? Michelle Alexander.
Oh yeah. The new Jim Crow.
The new Jim Crow, yeah. So she says something about she somehow found out that the number of people who were in slavery.
Yeah.
And she found out the number of people who are currently in dire straits and in incarceration and feeling the brunt of the legal system.
Yeah, the number of black people.
Yeah, the number of black people. Yeah. They're virtually the same. That's incredible. And
actually, just a little bit of background on Michelle Alexander. She's like a expert in the civil rights movement, and she's a constitutional lawyer.
Yeah.
And coming from her, obviously, it holds a lot of credence, and it's something to actually think about. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's no surprise that you have Black Lives Matter movement where they're just completely sick of it. And if you think about it, what causes extremism is if you oppress a community for so long, eventually, the bubble's going to burst. Eventually, it's going to strike. Yeah. And it's not going to be fancy.
The community was so badly affected that, it's had psychological effects for generations on generations.
So this whole Beyonce video on what's it called?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl show, a halftime show. It brought this whole thing into the media, and some sections within the American media have been saying that, why is she mentioning a terrorist organization like the Black Panthers, and why is she mentioning an extremist like Malcolm X?
Well, for the American, the Sun said it.
Ah, yes.
In the UK.
Yeah.
I forgot her name, the journalist, but she said drug dealing, murderers, assassinators, whatever else she said, and then she mentioned that the Black Panthers were inspired by a race extremist called Malcolm X.
Mm.
So she's actually repeating the same propaganda
Yeah.
that was being churned out at the time of Malcolm X, when he died, and it continued after he died.
Or up to this day, obviously, actually, with Malcolm X, as far as Malcolm X is concerned.
Yeah, and trying to write him out of history.
Yeah, basically.
By putting up a false image.
Yeah, and what they did with Dr. Martin Luther King is kind of change his rhetoric and make him more of a subservient black man. Subservient to the masses kind of image, where he's like, it's all peace, it's all love. We'll eventually get there. As in, don't do too much, don't say too much, don't go against the grain too much. We'll eventually get there.
So they call Malcolm X a race extremist because of what he used to say about white people, right? Yeah. There's no integration, no intermarriage, no whatever else.
Right.
Yeah. And the white man is a devil. That was the famous line. So they use all of that as their evidence. And his speeches where he's clearly saying that.
Yeah.
So what do you say about that?
Well, you have to put into context, firstly, when he talks about integration, he used that kind of line of rhetoric when he was a part of the Nation of Islam. And towards the end of his life, when he left the nation, his rhetoric actually changed. And so if one is to be fair to the person of Malcolm X, you need to take what he said himself, that he has changed his opinions on many things, and even in his autobiography he mentions the things that he's changed his opinion on. And so if you want to be fair, you want to be truthful, then you would have to take what the man himself actually says. And so he stopped being a segregationalist, and he was for integration, and he was for
intermarriage,
and he was, and he when he used the term white man, and he said the white man is a devil, what he actually meant is academics understand this.
He meant the system.
Yeah, he meant the academics actually understand this, because I can give quite a few examples. I'll just give one or two. David Hume, philosopher David Hume, he speaks about personhood. He speaks about what is person, what is self. So philosophy of the self, it's called. It's one kind of study within philosophy, as in, what is your essential self? Are you a human body, or are you some type of spirit behind the human body, and is the human body a machine, etc.? So there's this whole massive philosophy. So he uses the term person, and he uses the term self. And so what he does before he actually goes into his essay into talking about it, he gives a few paragraphs on each one. So he says, when I use the term person, I mean this. So he explains, I mean that essential thing, blah, 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 blah. And then when he says, when I use the term self, I mean this. And Thomas Kuhn is the famous philosopher of science. His book, the one on scientific revolutions, what's it called? The structure of scientific revolutions. Very famous book. I think
I've read that.
I was reading something that is sold over like 80 million copies worldwide, or something ridiculous. So in that book, what he does is, there's a difference of opinion amongst philosophers and academics in what he actually means when he uses a particular term, because he didn't actually define it, but he used it. He used the term like paradigm as an example. So when he used the word paradigm, he didn't actually define exactly what he means before he went into the book. He just went straight into the book. So people actually sat there and they put down the word every time the word paradigm comes and what it actually means in that context. And so it means that, you know, one person got it down to 7 different definitions of paradigm, and that actually went through like a second and third edition. I think it definitely went through a second edition, but they didn't pinpoint it. So in a similar vein, Malcolm X actually in his autobiography explains what he means when he says white man. He's not talking about in a racist way. He means the establishment which wishes to keep the black man down. So he uses the term white man, and he also uses the term black man.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the establishment, the system which is trying to keep the black man a slave, whether if not a physical slave, then definitely a mental slave. So, you know, a lot of these journalists, etc., I think they need to maybe read a book.
Yeah. What were the Black Panthers then?
The Panthers were an interesting group of people. There's so much propaganda about the Panthers. It's hard to figure out what exactly.
I know, because I couldn't make my mind up on them. I know this much though. Don't believe the government.
Yeah, don't believe the kind of propaganda,
particularly from that era.
What actually went on, obviously, it was started by Huey Newton and another guy. I forgot the other guy's name. And what they did is both of them were academics. And Huey Newton had a PhD. The other guy I can't remember, but they were both, you know, university educated, etc. And they came out with the whole philosophy, and they had a 10-point agenda where they wanted, you know, they were asking for basic things. We want food, we want shelter, we want clothing. But basically, they were just asking for human rights. And they came, I can't remember exactly when they came around, but they did look up to Malcolm X, and they didn't particularly, according to their own understanding, they didn't really like some of the understanding of Martin Luther King, Dr. King, because Dr. King was more, he was saying that if we will get killed, we'll kind of turn the other cheek, etc. Whereas Malcolm X said, look, we have Second Amendment rights in America. You know, for them, they have Second Amendment rights, which means they have a right to bear arms. They have a right to carry guns, which are for protection. And recently, Dr. Ben Carson, the guy who is running for president in the Republican side, he was asked something about the Second Amendment. And he said the Second Amendment is there to protect the government. So you can have militias of people carrying guns, gun militias, to protect the government in case we are attacked and the government needs support. So the army needs support, so you have militias come out. Or alternatively, if the government becomes oppressive and you need to put the government in its place somehow. So I would say 100% the Black Panthers, what they were responding to when they had guns and gun militias, is that they were responding to the oppressive police in the Los Angeles, in the California area, and the oppressive government who were not giving them their rights. Not only that, but they were actually killing black people. So, you know, they had guns, yes, but so did a lot of other people. And you know, remember just in January, just you know, this year in 2016, the gun militia which took over a federal building, they weren't called terrorists because they were white. Yeah, so
that lasted a while. That was a siege.
That lasted almost a month, didn't it? Flipping heck. But it's still not terrorists. They've not been defined terrorists, even though they had guns. But I think, you know, the only difference between them and the Panthers is they're white, and also they had no cause.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. That what is your cause? They couldn't even put it into words. But yeah, but I mean, back to the Panthers. What actually happened at the end with the Panthers is the FBI infiltrated them and actually killed a whole bunch of you know, their main leaders, and like assassinated basically, and then eventually got a few guys, put them in prison for like, you know, 20-30 years or some ridiculous amount of, you know, time. And eventually it just, without leadership, it turned into the whole Crips and Bloods. And you know, Crips at that time stood for Community Relations in Progress, or something along those lines. And so the Crips started off as a shoot off of the Black Panthers, and they were actually going around giving people money if they needed rent money, or they were feeding people if people needed food. People needed clothing, so they had like a place where they could collect all the clothing and give clothing to people. And then it probably turned around into, how are we going to fund this operation? And FBI comes along and says, yeah, sell drugs on our behalf. And everyone knows the whole Crips and Blood story now, don't they? And yeah, once you take out the leaders, the revolution's finished.
Yeah, exactly.
Kanye West, Twitter's.
Kanye West, oh my god, that guy is something else.
The guy's actually hilarious.
He is something else.
Absolutely loving it.
He had like a series of tweets, like one after the next, one after the other,
Yeah.
where he was proclaiming his greatness.
Yeah.
What did he say exactly?
Oh, there was so much, man. It's like comedy gold. I love it. I swear. He's basically people are actually like thinking, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
And I tell you what's wrong with him. Absolutely nothing. He's very clever. He's very smart, and it's just marketing. He's in the news.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about him, but he's got some album out, and I even know the name of the album just because of this whole Twitter thing. And now it's in mainstream news. Mainstream news publications actually.
Yeah, he's taking his tactic from boxers.
Yeah, and saying the strangest, daftest thing. There was something where one publication gave his album a rating 9 out of 10, which 9 out of 10, flipping it, that's a good rating, isn't it? And he turned around and he was mortified by it, and he said, white publications need to stop speaking about black music. I said, what the hell? And he said, such and such a publication, they gave my album a 9 out of 10. You don't even know black music. My album was a 30 out of 10. But it's hilarious. Everything I read from it just makes me laugh. It kind of makes me laugh, and some of it makes you cringe as well, thinking, oh my god, did he just say that? Idiot. At least, keep it to have some sense of morality, at least.
I find him an idiot.
He's an idiot, but he's a clever idiot.
Yeah, clever idiot.
He's using the system. So he's probably his marketing. How much marketing money probably went into his album, but he's probably halved it, or he probably won't even need to put out much marketing money into his album. It's just be an idiot on Twitter, then disappear for another year until your next album's ready, then come back and be an idiot again.
Well, when he disappears, he's still being an idiot.
Is he? I don't really. If he's not in the news,
he's been an idiot trying to sell his fashion gear for overpriced prices.
Yeah. Well, actually, I saw some trainers like what they call Pirate Black Yeezy 350 or something. And
that's a bit of a mouthful for trainers.
It is, yeah. And I saw a picture because they're being re-released. I think in February. I can't remember the date exactly, but they look awesome. I might actually try to buy some, but the price is, my god, the price. Don't ask.
They just look awesome. That's what it is.
$200 and something. I don't know how many pounds that would be. But
my sister worked for a fashion company, right? Fashion design company. She's a designer there. Right. So she worked closely with suppliers and all this type of stuff. Right. So there's one big famous supplier, I won't mention the name in case we get done for legal issues, right? But they bought standard shoes, put their label on it, and then sold it for a ridiculous price. We're talking like 300 quid, 200 quid. They sold it at. And those same shoes, exactly the same shoes, without a few of the modifications that they would have added, you can buy them from Primark.
So for like about £15-20 or something?
Yeah.
My god.
That's probably what Kanye's is.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, it is.
Okay.
It just is.
Fair enough. Well, I might. Them trainers look good, man. I'm telling you. I might just buy them just to have them in my room.
What you should do, you should get them.
This is decoration.
You should get them and then Twitter Kanye and say, these are a 30 out of 10.
Yeah. I might actually do something like that, Anyway.
Anyway, on that note, see you later.
See you.